Hello and welcome to our webinar, What's News in Debuts? I'm Donna Seaman, Editor-in-Chief for Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom an hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience, that's you, is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we will pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar. From there, you can select Show or Hide Captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates this standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. All right, so today we have a very special program for you. We'll be hearing from Kate Grant, the founding CEO of Fistula Foundation, Colette Perry, Market Design Associate at Charlesbridge, and Melissa Croce, Senior Marketing Manager at Simon & Schuster. We will hear first from Kate Grant. Kate is the founding CEO of Fistula Foundation, a global nonprofit leader dedicated to treating childbirth injuries. She's a passionate advocate for maternal health. Kate has expanded critical fistula care across 35 countries in sub-Saharan Africa and Asia. Her book, No Woman Left Behind, is her deeply personal account of the journey to bring healing to women who suffer in silence. We're so glad you're here with us, Kate.
It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me, Donna. Well, I'm going to start. You guys can't see me, but I think Donna can enable me so you at least see my face, but rather than just this, the screen of the book cover. As Donna mentioned, the book is a memoir, and it's about my journey building Fistula Foundation. But first, I think I need to probably talk to you a little bit about what fistula is and give you sort of a window into women's health in developing countries. What you may not know is the day a woman gives birth is the day she's most likely to die. Think about that for a second. The day a woman gives birth is a day she's most likely to die and be seriously injured. And those of us growing up in a place like the US or another developed country don't think about that, I think, very often, because here we have hospital-based deliveries and few women die or are seriously injured in childbirth. But for women in remote parts of Asia and much of sub-Saharan Africa where births happen at home, generally, women don't die, but about 1 in 20 women in sub-Saharan Africa can expect to die in her lifetime because of childbirth. It's partly, obviously, they have a lot of children compared to here, but also that birth without attendance when things go wrong can be perilous. Okay, that's a really hard reality. And I'm going to give you one other hard reality, which is the issue that we deal with, fistula, is an injury that doesn't kill women, but it leaves them incontinent. And the good news is those surgery can repair that injury. And so the work we've done, in some ways, is really focused on getting these women cured. And one of the chapters in my book is called "The Smile Train of Vaginas," which sounds kind of quippish, but it's to basically frame the issue in terms of an injury that can be healed. And that's what we do. So that's just to give you some context, which is in this country, we don't think about women dying or being seriously injured in childbirth, but for women who give birth without access to medical care when they need it, they can be killed in childbirth, die in childbirth, but they can also be injured seriously. So fistula happens when a woman doesn't get a C-section and stays in labor, sometimes as long as a week, if you can imagine, without drugs. So all of that's pretty tough, okay? Pretty tough. But the good news is, again, surgery 90% of the time can give a woman back her life. A young woman who's been injured and too often treated like an outcast can get a new shot at life. And so, while again, I painted kind of a sad picture, I want you to understand that the book itself, I think, is hopeful because most of the women are able to be cured. And as Donna mentioned in her introduction, the Fistula Foundation actually does more of these surgeries now than any other organization in the world. We work in 35 countries to make sure, as the title suggests, no woman is left behind. So there's my broad warm up to the book. And now I'd like to tell you just a little bit about the book. Mostly I wrote it to help open hearts and minds to the work we do, which really does transform women's lives. So next slide, please. Okay, so part of the story of sort of ending up building the foundation is mine, and most of the book is about building the Fistula Foundation. But in order to do that, I leave behind a Madison Avenue career that I'd been on for about 10 years, had some dark nights of the soul, which I write about briefly, and my eyes were open to this issue when I visited this hospital in Ethiopia that treats women with childbirth injuries. The bottom picture in the bottom corner is a woman named Dr. Catherine Hammond, the woman in the pale blue in the center, who really is the pioneer for fistula treatment. She really was my inspiration. And the women on the right are fistula patients at a hospital in Kenya. So in some ways, my story is unlikely in that, when I was in my 20s, I'd never heard about fistula, let alone just, ever considered, obviously, dedicating my professional career to helping address this issue. But once I met these women who were, most of them very young, and whose lives had been ruined by this injury, and saw that surgery could give them back their life, uh, as my missionary friends would say, the hand of God intervened, and I found a path. I'm not sure God works that way, but it in some ways felt, I don't know, felt like the path that was right for me, and it's one I've been on for 20 years. So the book again tells the story of us building this organization, as I found work that was much more meaningful to me than my Madison Avenue life. So next slide. So this is just a collection of pictures, mostly to sort of make the story that I'm going to tell come alive for you who've obviously not read the book. I went to Washington first and was on the House Foreign Affairs Committee staff, and then worked in the Clinton administration, hence the picture with Hillary Clinton, and served on the delegation that went to Beijing, where I would say some of my energy around women's rights and well-being were sort of ignited. Nick Kristof in the top right-hand corner is with one of my friends and one of our partners in Somaliland, Edna Don. And Nick's done so much. Those of you who read the New York Times maybe have read some of his columns about our work, and he's done so much to help galvanize our movement. And I do write about him in the book. The bottom left corner is Denny Mukwege, who some of you may know, Dr. Denny Mukwege, who's the founder of the Panzi Hospital in Congo. He's our longest term partner. He's also a Nobel Peace Prize winner. I write about him in the book as well. And then the bottom corner is a woman, Mwatanea, who gave me a chicken when I was last in Kenya, mostly as a thank you for the fistula surgery that the foundation had paid for. So this is a smattering of some of the people that I talk about in the book, because while it's my story and I'm the storyteller, the real heroes in the book are the doctors that do this amazing work, the nurses that help them, the patients themselves who really emerge kind of the heroes in their own story, and obviously people like Nick Kristof who've helped tell our story. Hillary Clinton was generous enough to write a blurb for my book, which I appreciate, which is in the book. Next slide. This again, Danny Mukwege, I consider a friend and a hero of mine. And this is a quotation he wrote about the book, and I'll just read it out loud. It's easy to ignore the suffering when the problem exists a continent away for poor women living in Africa and Asia. Grant's book is a call to action for compassionate advocates and a stunning tale of how deeds triumph over platitudes. No One Left Behind is a powerful plea to be our sister's keeper and a guidebook to change the world one woman at a time. I think the important things to pull out of that quotation, again, and what I said before, which is the stories that I'm telling in the book are of the doctors and of the women and of some of our donors that help make this possible. It sounds like a depressing topic, but actually, I think the whole story is very hopeful of what a group of people together can do to really change the lives of others. And I would also mention we don't take US government money, and that's not because I'm a libertarian politically or anything like that. It was just that it was frankly too much hassle to get money from the US government. And so we have not been affected by the implosion of US aid. And indeed, we're finishing out our best year yet, doing about 35 times as many surgeries as when I took over. And those surgeries are obviously individual women like the two pictured on top whose lives are transformed because of the work we're able to do. So next slide. Why I wrote the book, maybe that should be evident at this point, but it's to highlight the stories of these women, the doctors and the donors. It's also to open minds and hearts to this work, because probably our biggest challenge with Fistula Foundation, which I mentioned I've run for 20 years, is to try to get people to care about women that live a continent away and are suffering from an injury that most Americans have not heard of. For what it's worth, this injury used to exist in the US. In fact, for those of you who know Manhattan well, where the Waldorf Astoria sits now on the Upper East Side, until the 1890s, there was a fistula hospital that sat right there because fistula used to affect women when most births were at home in the, done at home in the US without medical care. So women had fistula in the US too. With hospital-based deliveries, that's really gone away. But again, for women that are suffering, there are at least 1 million of them in Africa and Asia. Our biggest challenge has been to get people to care about this issue, hence the reason I wrote the book. The other thing I would mention is my name's on the cover, but 100% of the proceeds go to something called our Love a Sister program, which funds free surgeries for women in need. So I thought it was important to mention that as well. Next slide. Okay, this is a little bit awkward because I did write the book. I didn't have a ghostwriter. I had a couple very helpful editors, one of which helped me cut 50 pages of boring from the book so that it ends up being, I think, a pretty good read. Um, it was with Booklist. I was really grateful. I got a starred review, and that was important to me. Kirkus gave me a good review, and then I've won also some other Indie Book Awards. While the book is being distributed by Simon and Schuster, it's published by She Writes Press, which is a hybrid. And it also enables us to have more of the profits go to the foundation because of the way those deals are structured. But it has won some awards. And I mention those again with some humility, but mostly to say that I think it's a good read, and also acknowledge that I had some help, as I said a second ago, editing out the boring parts. So it's a book I'm proud of, but I think it also it like I said, it's a good read. So next slide. One thing I also wanted to mention that I feel very proud of is that Abraham Verghese, who you all may know, who's wrote Cutting for Stone, which was a global bestseller about 15 years ago, but just published another global bestseller, Covenant of Water, who's right up the road from us. I'm in Silicon Valley. He's up at Stanford. It was generous enough to write the foreword of my book. As some of you may know who read Cutting for Stone, one of the protagonists is a fistula surgeon, and Verghese grew up in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where that hospital that I mentioned at the outset, where that opened my eyes, is Addis Ababa Fistula Hospital in Ethiopia. That's his hometown. So it felt right, and I was so delighted when he said he would be willing to write the foreword, which is terrific. So that also, I think, gives the book some credibility with audiences that don't know me or don't know fistula. Next slide. Um, I thought it would be helpful just to kind of summarize some of what's in the kind of coda to my book, which is together we can create a world where no woman suffers needlessly for trying to bring a child into the world. My hope is that you'll join us in our efforts to ensure that every woman injured in childbirth gets the care she needs to thrive, so that there is no woman left behind. That's literally the last couple sentences of the book, and again, I hope you'll be interested in checking it out. I say again with humility that I think it's a good read, and the goal is to tell a good story, but that one that hope opens hearts and minds, and maybe for some of those readers eventually, honestly, wallets to help contribute to the work we do. Because I said a second ago, we don't take government money. We're funded by individuals, and our average donation is under $100. So again, we're kind of the smile train of vaginas for an issue that doesn't get as much attention as I think it deserves, given the surgery really does transform women's lives. And that's what's kept me at it for 20 years. And I'm grateful for the time here to be able to talk to you about it. Next. So action you can take today, obviously recommending it to your readers. The book also contains a discussion guide, a series of questions at the end. So it's really set up for book clubs. I should mention, I mean, it's maybe would be intuitively obvious, but a large majority of our donors and supporters are women, and we've gotten terrific coverage in the New York Times. We were a Global Impact Prize winner last year with Nick Kristof around the holidays, and have won other awards. But even though we get press that covers men and women, women are obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but given it's a childbirth injury, I think particularly empathetic about what the patients we serve have gone through. So we do have a book club discussion guide in the end, and we'd love it, obviously, if you would feature it in any displays you have, mention it in newsletters, social media, staff pics, that kind of thing. The other thing with the book clubs is I had offered to do sort of brief Zoom, attendance at book clubs, which I've done a couple of times, where somebody sets up a Zoom call and I'll be there to answer questions for 20 minutes or a half hour if people have it, as a way to continue to get the word out about the book. So those are the actions I hope you'll take today. I really hope you'll check it out. I think it's worth your time, and I'm not the least bit unbiased since I wrote it, but I do think with the help of some good editors and Abraham Verghese, it's a good book. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, Donna, for having me.
Thank you so much, Kate. That was so moving, so very impressive. I'm so glad we were able to do this presentation. And now, deep breath, we go to Colette Perry. Colette has worked in marketing at Charlesbridge for 7 years. She was born and raised in Portland, Oregon, and holds a BA in communications and music from Simmons University. She lives in the Boston area. We're so happy you're here today, Colette.
Thank you so much, Donna. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to share some of our debut authors across picture books, middle grade, and YA with you. Deep under a mountain, at the top of the world, a priceless treasure is hidden. This isn't fairy tale, it is nonfiction. Just in case, Saving Seeds in the Svalbard Global Seed Vault is the true story of the people who protect the most precious treasure of all, seed biodiversity for the global food supply. Farmers around the globe have saved their seeds for millennia, cultivating thousands of varieties. They are more than food, they are history, and they are the future. But most industrial farms rely on monocultures, making the food supply vulnerable to disease and climate change. The Svalbard Global Seed Vault is a safe place to keep seeds just in case, far away from wars, safe from earthquakes and fires in the deep, preserving cold of the Arctic. Just in Case tells the story of the scientists, architects, engineers, and builders who dreamed up this vault, built it, and filled it with over 80,000 seed varieties from almost every country on Earth. Author Megan Clendenin has worked for nonprofit organizations focused on environmental law, women's empowerment, mental health, and urban food security. Her expertise very much shows in this book, which tenderly portrays the emotional connection humans share with our food. Indeed, School Library Journal highlights this book's portrayal of seed preservation as not only an essential task, but a sacred one. Backmatter shares more information about seed banks and the history of the Svalbard Vault, plus resources for kids who are excited to learn more about growing food. This must-have is on sale now. Nonfiction fun gets a spooky twist with Welcome to Whalebone Mansion, Creatures That Lurk at a Whale Fall by Lake and Slate, illustrated by Bindi James. When two intrepid little fish come across a vaulted ceiling of polished bone, they're astonished. What is this incredible undersea mansion? And could it be haunted? It sure is, but these denizens are no ordinary monsters. Goblin sharks, vampire squid, and zombie worms creep through a whale fall, the skeleton of a deceased whale, spooking our underwater explorers and delighting kids with the creepy crawly frights of the deep sea ecosystem. Author Lakin Slate is a former kindergarten teacher with a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. She loves to share big concepts with the littlest listeners, and as a U.S. Navy spouse, she sees the ocean quite a lot. Back Matter gives more information about the ocean depths and the amazing, unique ecosystem that develops as creatures feast on and hide in a whale fall. Entertaining and enlightening, Welcome to Whalebone Mansion is on sale now. Black Hair is the crown for the African diaspora worldwide. Black Hair Can by Sylvia Rodriguez celebrates this unique source of pride and expression. From the times of kings and queens, black hair has demonstrated a person's life's journey. Styles can indicate belonging, demonstrate status, or celebrate beauty. Yet, as enslaved people, black people had their hair taken from them as a way to remove their humanity. Throughout the struggle for equality, their hair became a major source of resiliency and a way to take back their power. Author and artist Sylvia Rodriguez is a RISD graduate who was inspired by everyday conversations and by her own curly locks to make a book that celebrates the beauty and origin of black hairstyles. Back Matter includes a hair pattern chart showing different hair types, along with different kinds of braids and twists. This gorgeously illustrated story is on sale now. Let's launch into the fiction section of this webinar with Welcome Home, Esmeralda by Daniela Ramirez, with illustrations by one of my favorite artists, Maribel Lechuga. Papa came home today with short notice orders. Esmeralda and her family are moving again, not to Hawaii or Germany or Japan, but back home to San Antonio, Texas. Here's the thing, Esmeralda's never actually been to Texas. Mama and Papa got married there, her older sister Mariana was born there, all her tias and tios and primos and her beloved abuela are there, but going home means saying goodbye to the home Esmeralda has finally made here. In the end, it takes a lot of love and quiet support from Mariana and Abuela, and their family's shared love of dancing to help Esmeralda's heart feel at home. Welcome Home, Esmeralda reflects the big feelings that accompany the frequent moves of a military family: sadness, anxiety, and loneliness, as well as the cheerful energy and encompassing warmth of a big family gathering. Let's hear a little more from the author about the experiences she drew on when writing Welcome Home, Esmeralda.
Hi, I'm Daniela Ramirez. I'm the author of Welcome Home, Esmeralda. When I first got the idea for the story, it was a tiny little memory that I had in my head. I was a military kid growing up, and we lived overseas in Germany for 4 years when I was fairly young. And we came back to Texas when I was 6. And I had to be reintroduced to my extended family. And I have a very specific memory of how my grandma was with me in the airport in San Antonio when I came back. And so it stayed with me. I knew that I wanted to build a story around that. And also what I see my own kids going through with my husband's career in the Air Force, with moving, leaving friends behind, I knew I wanted to add that stuff. And I knew I had to fictionalize some other things around it as well. But I'm really happy with how it turned out. Something I wanted to mention here was that Esmeralda's abuela is 100% my abuela. Like, that was something that was really special that I wanted to write into the story. Her honesty, her compassion, to really just celebrate the relationship that I had with her, and to also show how important those relationships can be for kids, and that even if you live far away from your extended family, that it's still possible to build the strength of those relationships and carry them with you.
This big-hearted story of homecoming is on sale now. Next up, Charlotte's New Moccasins by Jen Mudahy with illustrations by Rael McGregor is a heartwarming story of intergenerational love rooted in Métis Indigenous traditions. Charlotte loves running around outside in her moccasins, but one day her feet just won't fit in them anymore. This calls for a trip to Grandma's house. Charlotte picks out the colors for a new pair in Grandma's workshop and watches wide-eyed as Grandma walks her step by step through the process of moccasin making. As they work together, Grandma and Charlotte laugh, share stories, and even turn a little workshop accident into a bold new design for the beaded uppers. She can't wait to grow out of these beautiful new shoes and help her grandma make the next pair. Jen Mudahy is a Métis author and clinical counselor who learned beading and moccasin making from her mother and helped teach these arts at workshops throughout British Columbia. She now lives in Western Canada with her family. This warm and cheerful story highlights the close grandparent-grandchild relationship and the beauty of passing along Indigenous traditions from one generation to the next. Charlotte's New Moccasins is on sale now. For kids who are ready to move up into chapter books and love funny, rambunctious heroes, look no further than Growing Up Beth by Beth Ann York with art by Anna Latisse. Meet 10-year-old Beth, a no-nonsense truth-teller with 5 brothers and laugh-out-loud childhood stories as she and her family move into their first house. Beth marches to the beat of her own drum, and her family is full of strong-willed personalities, from her stern but loving mother to her take-no-nonsense stepfather, Bob, to her 5 boisterous brothers. The York family may clash sometimes, but at the end of the day, they're always there for each other. Debut author Beth York based this book on her own childhood experiences. She remembers her childhood as full of discovery in a household that had limited means. Though Beth didn't know she was struggling with ADHD or other learning disabilities like dyslexia, she made the best of it and charmed everyone in her path. She now lives in Connecticut. Growing Up Beth is part of our Charlesbridge Moves imprint, serving reluctant readers with high-energy titles across the genre spectrum. Drawing kids in with visually appealing and easy-to-read pages, this hilarious chapter book will resonate with youngsters who can't resist a little mischief. And for YA readers who can't get enough of coding, Imposter by Kate Levin is the perfect read. High school sophomore Cam has always loved making things, like a ring she implanted with an NFC chip. This semester, she finally gets the chance to take a computer science elective if she can ignore the obnoxious boys who don't think she belongs in the class. Cam and her quick-witted best friend Viv engineer their way onto the extracurricular RoboSub team. That ultimately lands them as a national competition at the only 2 girls on their team. Will Cam rise to the occasion and confirm, not to others but to herself, that she belongs? Kate Levin, a STEM educator with years of experience in computer science, takes a fiercely honest but hopeful approach to the topic of gender equity in STEM careers. Levin also talks insightfully about imposter syndrome, the persistent doubt about your abilities or accomplishments, along with fears about people thinking you're a fraud despite your success. This empowering read is perfect for teens grappling with their place in the world, and especially for girls who code. Imposter is available now. Well, let's wrap this up with a look at Popo the Xolo by Paloma Angelina Lopez with art by Abraham Matias. Fuse 8 called this one moving and incredible, and the accolades keep rolling in. We hope to see this book touch many more lives. Inspired by Indigenous Mexican beliefs about the afterlife, this warm and heartfelt story follows Nana and her beloved Xolo dog Popo as they embark on Nana's final journey. The voyage takes Nana through snowscapes, jungles, and mountains as she remembers her life and lets go of old regrets and fears in preparation for what lies beyond. Popo guides her every step of the way. Finally, Nana's spirit comes back home to say a final goodbye to her family as they honor her memory. I believe an editor at Levine Carrido put it best when he said of this book, to touch on death in that way, but retain a sense of humor and joy and playfulness is such a gift. While it addresses loss and grief very directly, this book is very much a celebration of the things that make life worth living: kindness, love, family, and of course, a very good dog. Author Paloma Lopez wrote this book after the loss of her own grandmother, drawing inspiration from the love of her family's Xolo dog. A dual citizen of the US and Mexico, she is currently training to become a Cherokee language teacher. She hopes to publish many more stories inspired by her culture. Perfect for families mourning a loss or celebrating El Dia de los Muertos, Popo the Xolo is a tender story that honors the role pets play in comforting and guiding their humans during sad times. This book is available now in Spanish and English. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at cperry@charlesbridge.com. You can find digital galleys, bonus videos, downloadables, and more on our website at charlesbridge.com/debutwebinar. We actually have some wonderful videos from many of these debut authors themselves reviewing each other's books. Paloma reviewing Welcome Home Esmeralda, Jen reviewing Popo the Xolo, and so on. I really encourage you all to check it out. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much, Colette. That was a treat to meet the author, Daniela Ramirez. And now we will hear from Melissa Croce. Melissa is the Senior Marketing Manager for Library Adult Titles at Simon & Schuster. She's been with the company since 2020, and when she's not reading everything from romance novels to poetry to narrative nonfiction, she likes to root for her many favorite hockey teams, play D&D, and watch K-dramas. Thank you for joining us, Melissa. Always great to see you.
Thank you, Donna. Always happy to be here. Hello, everyone. As Donna mentioned, I market adult books, so it's kind of nice to have this variety. So let's get started. Next. First up, we have The Infamous Gilberts by Angela Tomasky. This is a darkly funny novel about a wealthy, eccentric family in decline and all the secrets they hold within the walls of their crumbling family home. Thorn Walk was once a stately English manor. Now it's about to become a luxury hotel. On the brink of a renovation, what history will be erased, and perhaps more alarmingly, what will be unearthed? Through the keen eyes of an enigmatic neighbor, readers are taken on a guided tour into rooms filled with secrets and memories, each revealing the story of the 5 Gilbert siblings. Reminiscent of the haunting atmosphere of Shirley Jackson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle, and perfect for fans of the Royal Tenenbaums, The Infamous Gilberts offers a fresh take on a classic genre. Next. Just Watch Me by Leora Tornberg is a bold story about a charismatic misfit who live streams her life for 7 days and 7 nights to raise money to save her sister. Delle Danvers is a mess. She is behind on rent, she's perpetually plagued by stomach pains, and her younger sister Daisy is comatose. Desperate, Delle impulsively starts a 24-hour live stream to fundraise for private life support for Daisy. She hits her stride when people are enticed by her weird talent for eating spicy food, particularly peppers. Delle is finally good at something, but as her behavior becomes riskier and a shadowy troll threatens to expose her dark past, Delle must reckon with what her digital life ignores and what real redemption means. This is for fans of Fleabag and Big Swiss. Next. In Bloom by Liz Allen is a story of class and a coming of age as a group of best friends investigate allegations against a beloved teacher. It's the mid-1990s, and in a small, gritty coastal town of Vincent, Australia, 4 Nirvana-obsessed 14-year-old girls form a grunge band called the Bastards. These girls are forgettable. They're poor outcasts who are desperate to escape the fates of their mothers, who seem locked into a life of minimum wage jobs, surprise pregnancies, and drunk boyfriends. The Battle of the Bands is the girls' one ticket out. But all of that is threatened when their lead singer Lucy accuses their beloved music teacher of assault, leaving the remaining bastards with nothing. Convinced that their teacher is innocent and desperate to keep their dream alive, they decide to investigate the truth. But will they like what they find? Next. Family Drama by Rebecca Fallon is a vibrant, powerful meditation on family, motherhood, and the cost of holding on to your dreams, reminiscent of Ann Napolitano. Susan lives a double life. As Susan Bliss, she's a young mother married to a professor in New England. As Susan Byrne, she's a beloved soap opera star in LA. But it all ends abruptly with an accidental death, leaving her professor husband heartbroken and her twins motherless. The twins grow up in the shadow of her absence. Sebastian is fascinated by his late mother, while Viola, resentful, distances herself from her. But when Viola runs into her mother's old co-star Orson Gray, now a renowned Hollywood star, she finds herself falling deeply in love with him and begins to put the pieces together of a mother she never really knew. Next. All right. In Her Defense by Philippa Malika. This follows a sensational celebrity libel trial in which a young woman at the periphery secretly wields the power to make or break a case. But with her own hidden past, will she dare to speak up? The whole country has been riveted by the trial. A beloved TV star and national treasure, Anna Finbo, standing in court, accusing her daughter's therapist, Jean Guest, of brainwashing her daughter Mary for her own financial gain. Jean insists that Mary's traumatic memories arise from her upbringing and her time studying abroad at a prestigious art school in Rome. But as the trial unfolds, it's Augusta Gus Bird, Anna's former employee, a seemingly insignificant bystander, a nobody, who holds the key to unraveling the tangled web of lies and deceit. Next. All right, Love and Other Brain Experiments by Hannah Brome. This is a STEM academic rivals to lovers rom-com about 2 neuroscientists who are forced to pretend they're dating to maintain their careers. Neuroscientist Dr. Frances Silberstein is desperate for a job, and it's led her to a summer conference that's being organized by her successful ex. There, she meets Dr. Lewis North, her handsome rival. When their academic sniping gets mistaken for flirtatious chemistry, Frances doesn't deny it, putting her integrity and her career on the line. She soon realizes that she needs to keep up the charade or risk everything that she's worked for. Faking data is out of the question, but fake dating? That might just be the solution she needs. This rom-com is perfect for fans of Ali Hazelwood and Christina Lauren. Next. The Secret of Snow by Tina Harneski, translated by Anna Menzies, is a lyrical runaway Swedish hit that follows a reclusive elderly couple who cross paths with a pair of 20-something newcomers in a small mountain town, revealing an unexpected shared history. Marja is an eccentric 85-year-old who's facing a cancer diagnosis, one she's determined to keep from her husband, Bira. Kaj is a transplant to the village, newly engaged but still mourning the death of his mother. One day, when Kaj unexpectedly finds a box of Sami, the indigenous people of Scandinavia, handicrafts belonging to his mother, he unlocks something that will change his life and the lives of those around him. Next. Murder Bimbo by Rebecca Novak is an exhilarating and provocative debut, perfect for fans of Yellowface and Killing Eve. A 32-year-old sex worker is shocked when she is approached by undercover government agents to aid them in a top-secret plot to assassinate a politician known as Meatneck. Delightful. But once the deed is done, she realizes what made her the perfect recruit. She is 100% disposable. Holed up in an off-the-grid cabin in the woods, she now has only 2 days, her wits, and a laptop to save her life. Her best bet? To reach out to the wildly popular feminist investigative podcast, Justice for Bimbos, and tell her side of the story. Constructed in 3 increasingly unhinged acts, each a more subversive, twisted version on the story than the last, Murder Bimbo can be read as a gloriously bold literary thriller, a satirical megalomaniac's manifesto, or a raucous send-up of the political insanity we all live inside every day. Next. And the insanity doesn't stop. With A Sociopath's Guide to a Successful Marriage by M.K. Oliver, this is a whip-smart and darkly funny crime novel, perfect for fans of My Sister the Serial Killer and The Maid. Lala Rook is an ambitious housewife whose goals are the following. She needs to guarantee that her husband makes partner. She needs to secure her dream house in Hampstead, and she needs to get her daughter into a prestigious prep school. And on the afternoon she stabs a stranger 7 times after he breaks into her living room, she has a 4-year-old's birthday party to host. At least she, as a wife and mother, is already an expert multitasker. So disposing of a body, framing a friend, and being the world's best mother can easily be managed alongside the usual domestic minutiae. But who was the intruder, and what did he want from her? Lala has a past she'd rather keep hidden, and this sudden appearance of the police means that avoiding them will be yet another task to cross off her to-do list. Next. Ruinous Creatures by Jessie Cole Jackson is a standalone romantasy debut, standalone being the key word here, in which magic is born from the bones of extraordinary creatures, and a privileged few siphon this magic by wearing the creature's skulls. Adela spends her days meticulously preparing these skulls to be matched with magic users, but when she discovers 2 legendary phoenix skulls, she can't resist the pull of their dormant magic herself. Meanwhile, determined novitiate Kian prepares for the upcoming matching ceremony, but he harbors a secret. He's only participating to destroy the skulls to avenge the death of his parents, who died at the hands of this tradition of power. As Adele and Kian's fates intertwine in the matching hut, they grapple with the consequences of their powerful new magic. This is perfect for fans of One Dark Window and T. Kingfisher. Next. I Am Agatha by Nancy Foley is for readers of Elizabeth Strout and Sigrid Nunez. This is a darkly funny and moving novel about the unforgettable Agatha. Agatha is a bristly painter fleeing her own darkness, and she decamps to rural New Mexico to live her reclusive life of a small-town curmudgeon. There she meets Alice, a widow with a deepening case of dementia, who keeps steady vigil at her daughter's backyard grave. Despite Agatha's rough edges, she surprises herself by falling in love. And as Alice's condition worsens, Agatha hatches a plan for them to live together at her remote residence at Mesa Portales. But when Alice's wayward son comes along with different ideas, and Alice suddenly goes missing, Agatha must take matters into her own hands, embarking on an unusual mission that calls into question whether some secrets are better kept buried. Next. The Plans I Have for You by Lai Saunders is a cutting and brazen thriller about 2 Asian American women on a quest for revenge, for fans of Yellowface and Counterfeit. When a conflict with a fellow passenger on the subway spirals into a humiliating breakdown, Shelley Hugh's life is over. The incident goes viral, costing Shelley her plans to build a better life for herself and her mother. Months later, her life remains a black hole until she meets the beautiful, enigmatic Sophia Moon. It turns out that once upon a time, Sophia also suffered her own episode of public humiliation, and she vows to not only help Shelley rebuild her life, but to enact revenge on the three people responsible for its destruction. Things begin well, but when the situation soon spirals out of control, Shelley is forced to reckon with Sophia's unspeakably dark side, though it might be far too late. Next. Only a Little While Here by Maria Ospina, translated by Heather Cleary, is a prize-winning ecological novel which interweaves animal odysseys in a gripping, adventurous meditation on migration and displacement in the inextricable human and natural worlds. With characteristic precision and intensity, Ospina trains readers' attentions on the lives of five creatures. The surprising drama of their lives reveals the fragility and power of belonging and what it means to create or lose a home. Along the way, our narrator models the attentive needed to mend the rift between humans and non-human creatures and celebrates animals' often overlooked status as witnesses of our shared world. Next. All right, something different. The Counting Game by Sinead Nolan is a thrilling novel following the disappearance of a teenage girl and the small Irish town that must reopen their old wounds in order to find her in time. Perfect for fans of Tana French and Liz Nugent. Southwestern Ireland, 1995. When teenager Saoirse Kellogg goes missing, panic grips a rural Irish community. She's not the first girl to disappear in the woods, and the only witness, her troubled younger brother Jack, refuses to speak. Saoirse went missing when they were playing the counting game, a ritual believed to ward off evil, and Jack has sworn to protect the forest secrets. Psychologist Freya Hemmings is brought in to help investigators break Jack's silence. And as the race to find Saoirse alive accelerates, the search threatens to unravel a family facing the unthinkable. Everyone is a suspect, and the closer Freya gets to Jack, the more danger she finds herself in. Next. Honey in the Wound by Ji Young Han is a lyrical and suspenseful novel about a mysteriously gifted Korean family confronting the brutality of the Japanese Empire. A sister disappears and returns as a tiger. A mother's voice compels the truth from any tongue. A granddaughter divines secrets in others' dreams. These women are all of one lineage, a Korean family split across decades and borders by the Japanese imperialists. At this saga's heart is Young-ja, who is whisked off to Manchuria to join a secretive sisterhood of beautiful tea house spies during the Japanese occupation. Decades later, she lives alone in Seoul until her Tokyo-born granddaughter Renako bursts into her life with the ability to see into dreams. In cultivating a tentative bond, they must confront the long-bearing past in a stunning emotional climax. Next. Like This But Funnier by Hallie Cantor is perfect for fans of Dolly Alderton and HBO's Hacks. This is a whip-smart, laugh-out-loud novel about faking it and making it as a writer in Hollywood. TV writer Caroline is 34 and mired in professional envy and self-hatred. Even Harry, her supportive therapist husband, thinks it's time for her to press pause on her career and focus on getting pregnant, despite Caroline's serious ambivalence about having children. When Caroline accidentally stumbles on Harry's patient session notes and offhandedly mentions what she finds in a meeting with a producer, the momentum of Hollywood takes over. Before she knows it, and unbeknownst to Harry, Caroline finds herself pitching a TV show about the deepest, darkest secrets of her husband's favorite patient, a woman known to Caroline only as the teacher. And when Caroline forms a real-life relationship with said teacher, the lines between art and life begin to blur even further, shaking up Caroline's understanding of what it means to be the likable female protagonist of her own life. Next. The Killing Spell by Shea Kawai is an urban fantasy world. Nearly 200 years ago, when a catastrophic flood submerged the Hawaiian Islands and unleashed magic into the world, clans formed a treaty with LA, establishing a new Hawaiian homeland called the Homestead. But that treaty is about to expire. Kea Petrova, the youngest of the clan leaders, struggles to keep her clan afloat, and things get worse when the murder of Angelo Reyes, a prominent activist, turns her world upside down. Angelo was killed by a death spell, something that can only exist in Hawaiian. Known for her spell work, Kea quickly becomes the prime suspect, and to clear her name, she must unravel the mystery behind Angelo's murder and confront LA's most powerful and dangerous players, each wielding their own type of magic. The clock is ticking. Can Kea save herself, her clan, and her homestead before it's too late? Next. Porcupines by Fran Fabritsky is a sharp and brilliantly observed debut novel set featuring a young single mother and an increasingly inquisitive daughter who wakes up one day and decides to find out who her father is. Told in dual timelines, Porcupines follows mother and daughter Sonia and Mila in 2001 Los Angeles and teenagers Sonja and Rija in 1999 Budapest, connected by secrets with rippling effects across time. Porcupines captures the rich, complex, and entirely absorbing relationships between sisters, mothers, and daughters. Next. Wife-Shaped Bodies is Saarland meets Manhunt in this dystopian horror novel. Forbidden from leaving her house from girlhood until marriage, Nicole was taught that the mushrooms that cover the women in her village are repulsive and dangerous, and she can only keep them away by following a rigid set of rules. When her wedding day arrives, Nicole moves from one prison to another, an empty mansion on the outskirts of town belonging to the husband she's been promised to since birth. Maintaining control over her transforming body becomes increasingly impossible, and when another wife with rebellious tendencies pays Nicole an unexpected visit, something within her cracks open. Unmoored, angry, and at last awakened, Nicole must reckon with who she really is and perhaps give in to what she truly wants. Next. And our last title is Livonia Chow Mein by Abigail Savage Liu, a gripping story of family history and political upheaval centered around a Chinese family-owned restaurant in Brownsville, Brooklyn, and its impact on the neighborhood's Jewish and Black residents over the course of a century. In 1978, two tenements on Livonia Avenue in Brownsville burned to the ground, killing one resident and displacing many others. It remains unclear who set the buildings ablaze, but survivors are convinced that the culprit is Mr. Wong. Who exactly is Mr. Wong, and what allegedly drove him to this extraordinary act of violence is a question that consumes this novel as it plagues 4 generations of the Wong family and the families around them. Next. All right, that's all from me. If you would like more recommendations, resources, help with title curation, please visit simonschuster.net/library. All of those resources have been curated just for you. Next. That is everything from me. Thank you so much for joining all of us this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Melissa. So many enticing titles. Well done. Thanks to everyone that spoke today, to Kate Grant and Colette Perry and Melissa Croce. Tomorrow, you will all receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, the title list, the certificate of completion, and the video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit us at booklistonline.com/webinar. There you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones, such as those you see here. You can also find out about the latest webinars on our social channels. Visit a Booklist on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and now Blue Sky. Thank you again for joining us for today's webinar. One more huge thank you to our wonderful panelists and to our wonderful sponsors, Fistula Foundation, Charlesbridge and Simon Schuster. This concludes today's webinar. See you at the next one. Stay well.